Okay, everybody, we're going to talk a little bit about alignment now. How important that is, making sure we get ourselves set up properly. If we're not lined up to the golf ball properly on the course, we're putting ourselves behind the eight ball right off the get-go. And one of the interesting things about alignment is that people don't realize if I'm aimed straight down that line, and that's where I want the golf ball to go, my foot line, actually, you can think about it as a pair of train tracks, and they're going to be paralleling each other. When I get up here and look, my foot line can a lot of times think that I'm aiming left to the target. When in reality, when I'm talking about a target 200 yards away, I'm actually set up absolutely parallel to the target line that I want to have it on. That can force a lot of people to start closing their stance down. We end up making compensations in our swing in order to make up for the fact that we're closed down to our target there. Now, the tough way to line up to a ball is setting up and trying to look at it this way. Our eyes do not like to work this way, looking a long distance like that. The way that we can do it is getting behind the golf ball and actually finding an intermediate target that we will be able to set up to. If I am hitting that golf ball right there, I will get back behind the golf ball as far as I can. We can go 5-10 feet behind it. I'm going to make sure no matter what, the golf ball is between me and my target. So no matter where my target is, no matter wherever I want to start that golf ball, I'll get behind, have that golf ball between me and my starting point, and let's pick a spot out, preferably within a couple feet in front of you. If we can find something, if there's a piece of grass, if there's a divot or something that you can line yourself up to right in front like that, it's going to be a lot easier when you set up. We'll be able to set up right here. Our eyes have an easy time lining up to something right there rather than something 200 yards away. So we can set up nicely right here, pick that intermediate target. And for beginners or people that have had problems with alignment in the past, it can be difficult to trust this. But having the alignment sticks out, we'll do some drills with this today. Having those alignment sticks there can help you trust that a little bit more when you get out on the course. You just trust that intermediate target, start hitting all the shots we want right down the line we're looking at. Okay, guys, we're going to go over a little bit of bunker technique to start today. So, sand tends to be way too much of a fear factor for most golfers. There are some differences we're going to have when we hit out of the bunkers, but we don't want to make it drastically different golf swing. There are a couple things we can adjust in our setup that are actually going to make things a lot easier, make it so we don't have to make such significant changes in the swing, but still help us make sure we get the ball out quickly. If we're uncomfortable with our bunker game, job number one is making sure that we can make a swing that gets the ball out and onto the green in one shot. When we're thinking if we're not great, bunker shots, 1 out, 2 putts, and we're good. When we start getting better at the bunkers, then we can start dialing in distance, then we can start trying to manipulate the height of the ball a little bit to get close to holes. Job number one starting out, making sure we can get out of the bunkers in one shot. The way we're going to do that, just like we're going to do with a lot of stuff in the short game, lower body's going to be very stable with this. Again, I don't need to have a weight shift in this. We use the weight shift in the full swing so that we can get the power in the swing. We're looking for precision when we're in the bunkers. We don't need that weight shift back and forth. All that's going to do is cause it to be difficult to make sure we get right where we want to on the ball. So when I set up to it, nice solid stance, a little bit wider than normal, and I'm going to favor my left side on the weight without leaning forward. So if I were to think, instead of being 50-50, think 60-65% of the weight on our left foot without leaning that upper body forward towards the left side. And we're going to think about keeping the weight on that left side, going back and going through. So when I go back and through, I'm not thinking shift back and come at it. I'm thinking nice and solid. I'm going to stay on that side and come back through. Number two that we'll talk about before we hit a couple is how we want that club face to work. If I were to think about that club face being square, I had this leading edge of the club that really likes to dig into the sand, really makes it easy to dig in and get a steep divot at that. If I open that face up, that's why they talk about bounce. You hear people talk about bounce in a golf club. That is the difference in angle from the leading edge to the trailing edge on the wedge. It's got that little bit of bulge to it. It's going to help the club hit into the ground and actually bounce off the sand. So you can tell the difference. If I'm looking at this on the ground right here, that's going to be able to dig in pretty quick. If I open that face up and expose that bounce to it, it's going to help. That's a little bit more rounded, a little bit more of a blunt object. It's not going to cut through the sand. It's going to help it bounce off the sand a little bit more. So the two things to start before we get into anything too technical are going to be good wide base with it. We're going to open up that club face, and we'll start working on drawing a line right behind the ball where we think about hitting, because we're not making contact with the ball. We're going to hit right under the golf ball with it. But to start right now, you're going to open that club face up just a little bit. You're going to go good solid stance, and we're not trying to help the ball up in the air. We're still going to hit down on it. We're still going to allow that sand to help work the ball up out. Nice and solid. There we go.